You don't need me to tell you that the past couple of years have been a bit rough on old Dwayne Johnson. A bunch of high-profile box office flops combined with embarrassing revelations about his social media BS, his constant grifting, and his willingness to reverse any position the moment it gets the slightest pushback have seen him tumble from the king of Hollywood action to a star in decline, his future uncertain and his public image tarnished. But as I said in my Crash and Burn video, one thing The Rock is definitely good at is sensing when the tide of public opinion is turning and adjusting his strategy to compensate. And one of the biggest criticisms leveled against him is that he basically just plays the same character in every movie. Big, lovable, charismatic nice guys with $1,000,000 smiles, usually larger than life and always trying to do the right thing. What he really needed to do was break the cycle and prove to everyone that he could do more than just play himself. Hence, The Smashing Machine, where he instead portrays a muscle-bound, drug-addicted athlete with a messy personal life who spirals into despair and depression after a major setback in his career. Joking aside, The Smashing Machine represents a welcome change of tack for Dwayne Johnson, a true story sports biopic that ditches the glamorous, family-friendly, mass-market appeal of The Rock in favour of something a bit more raw, gritty and realistic. A chance to prove that the man can actually hold his own in dramatic scenes, and there's more to him than witty catchphrases and big muscles.
Hey Mia, you better hide your baby or
You better hide that big ass forehead.
Does it actually work? Well, sort of. It's not going to win him any Oscars, that's for sure. The script is kind of flabby and meandering at times, and the finale doesn't deliver on the emotional satisfaction that the rest of the story promised. But you know what? It's not a bad movie.
Oh my god!
In fact, it might be one of the best things he's ever made, which I know is a pretty low bar, but stick with me here. The story picks up in the early days of MMA in the late 90s with Mark Kerr, an up-and-coming fighter whose size and punching power make him a dominant presence in the sport. But his soft-spoken, nice guy public persona and success in the ring hide a darker world of drug abuse and a messy and often confrontational relationship with his girlfriend Dawn. When Mark loses a major fight at a tournament in Japan, the first loss of his career, it throws him into a spiral of depression and drug use that culminates in an OD and a trip to the emergency room. He's officially at rock bottom.
Really?
Damn man, even I didn't intend that pun. But like any good sports biopic, he begins to claw his way back with the support of his friend and fellow fighter Mark Coleman, ditches the drugs and gets himself into fighting shape just in time for the 2000 Grand Prix. But can Mark battle his way through to the final fight and redeem himself by taking back the crown, or will his Cinderella story have a very different ending? Now, casting a guy like Dwayne Johnson in a movie like this was always going to be a risky move because not only does he come with a lot of baggage as an actor, not only do you have to contend with his ego and his willingness to cooperate, but the bigger question was whether or not he even had the acting range to deliver on the big dramatic scenes. And now that I've seen what he can do, my answer is yes. Well, mostly at least. I mean, at times you can definitely tell he's trying to force emotions that aren't always there, and I don't imagine there's any Academy Awards in his future, but honestly, this film goes a long way towards proving that beneath all the bullshit and larger-than-life persona, there actually is an actor who can deliver when he's properly motivated. The confrontations with Dawn feel raw and believable, the moments when his rage explodes into violence are brutally impactful, and I think he's at his best playing a man trying hard to keep himself under control, a guy capable of inflicting enormous damage in the ring but desperate to avoid it in the real world, always struggling with his conflicted nature. He plays well off Emily Blunt, who's always reliable and is practically unrecognisable here under all the hair and makeup. It goes without saying that the fight scenes are brutally realistic. Johnson obviously knows everything there is to know about wrestling, and since the rest of the cast are mostly actual MMA fighters, there's no worries when it comes to performance in the ring. There's none of the melodramatic, overproduced nonsense you often see in Hollywood movies like this. Fights are short, brutal and often clumsy grappling matches where the old ground and pound technique is on full display. Apparently Johnson agreed to take real blows to the face to enhance the realism here, which I've got to respect because I'm guessing these guys hit pretty fucking hard. But for all the acting commitment and impressive technical accomplishments, the real weakness of this movie is the fucking script. It kind of meanders all over the place, wasting time on scenes that add nothing to the characters or the narrative. The relationship between Mark and Dawn doesn't have a clear arc that adds to his story, and if I'm honest, the script can't seem to decide if she's a positive or negative influence in his life. And it all culminates in a dramatically unsatisfying satisfying ending where I'm not entirely sure what I'm meant to draw from the whole experience. I mean, I guess the movie's making the point that personal fulfillment and inner peace comes from more than just external accomplishments and achievements, which is a nice message, I guess. I'm just not entirely sure how we got there. Add all these problems together and you end up with a slightly sluggish, anticlimactic experience that feels way longer than it is. A movie that rests more on its hard-hitting fights and talented cast working their arses off to elevate what's actually a pretty uninspired script. I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but for once I think Dwayne Johnson deserved better with this one.
No way! Yes way!
Still, I'm not going to pretend that the Smashing Machine is some laughable disaster, because it isn't. If anything, it does at least prove that The Rock can be more than his larger-than-life persona, and if you've got any kind of interest in MMA and the trailblazing stars from the early days of the sport, then I think there's more than enough here to keep you entertained. It's more of a split decision than a knockout victory, but hey, it's still a much-needed win for Dwayne Johnson. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.